no matter what. They love it. They have to be a part of it. And there is that little excitement, especially when you have a team. You want to see how you start out. You want to see where you go. Kev?
And the Mets are always in first place after opening day.
The Mets are one of the best April teams in history, but they are not necessarily a great team after April.
Nah.
And speaking of the Mets, so Matt Harvey, apparently big coke problem, doing coke with Tyler Skaggs, and getting it from in the Angels locker room. Apparently often contemplated suicide as a Met. Wow, I didn't expect all that from Mr. Harvey today.
No, those were shocking revelations by Mr. Harvey there.
Just a little bit more than I was anticipating him coming through with on that. It was C.J. Crone. There was a couple of other Angels that were involved in this that were getting their drugs from a guy named K, not a name I was familiar with really. But yeah, K. I mean, so
the only K I know is Michael K. I don't think it was him.
Yeah, I don't think he was part of the Angel, clubhouse scene. But just a little taken aback, I guess, by, I guess how rampant the cocaine scene was in Angel Land and probably in Metland a little bit.
I mean, when you think back to Harvey as a Met, it seemed like he enjoyed the nightlife, liked to go out, liked to party a little bit, but you don't expect to hear about the cocaine at this point.
No, as a young player, you just figured he was just all pumped up and amped up. You didn't think that he was doing it because of that. And he was in Collins's office apparently all the time and kind of depressed a lot. And who the hell knew? I mean, kind of crazy. He was the guy that asked for the ball to stay in the game in the World Series, which was, something that now, just a few years later, is unheard of. Because now if your pitcher goes 6, it's a big deal. Back then, he tried to go a complete game. Now your pitcher only goes a complete game if you're up 9-0 and he's pitching a gem and he doesn't have a lot of pitches under his belt.
Well, it's 9-0 if it's a 7-inning doubleheader and you can,
Yeah. Listen, if he's at 81 pitches going into the ninth, we'll let him trot out there for one batter. They really baby them a little bit more than you'd like to see, unfortunately. But baseball, and listen, it's very popular with me, very popular with you guys, obviously. All three of us always say first love, first sport, first team we joined was Little League. All three of us, even though you're not anymore, we're little Yankee fans as little kids. And, the Yankees were great and all that fun stuff. And, they had all the nicknames, and the late 70s Mets were just horrendous to watch. And therefore we all became Yankee fans pretty easily.
But I grew up watching more games at Shea Stadium than anywhere else.
No, because we lived there.
Because we were right there in Queens. The old-fashioned, the old joke when you say, hey, what time's the game? They say, what time can you make it?
Yeah. It was an intimate gathering at Shea.
Yeah.
It was like a family affair, so to speak. Lots of fights in the stands.
The only thing that did come out this week with baseball was the fact that we will have a universal DH. That did come out of everything going on. So,
what do you think of it?
I hate it. I'm a purist. I like national ball.
It.
I still
what's the most exciting thing in baseball, Kev? When a pitcher that's hitting 083 comes up to the plate with 2 outs in the bottom of the third.
Yeah.
Because he really puts up a real threat. Generally, even if he makes contact, he doesn't run to first base because he doesn't want to tire himself out. Listen, I agree with you in so many aspects of it, Kev, because when you have a good hitting pitcher, it's fun, and the strategy of it and pitching changes and everything you're saying is great. It's just boring when the guy doesn't try it. Al Leiter.
You miss the excitement of Bartolo Colon hitting a home run. And as a Met fan, over the years, we've had DeGrom, who's a terrific hitter. You think back to Syndergaard, Harvey, Matz, go back further, Darling, Gooden. The Mets have always had good hitting pitchers. The rest of the team can't hit, but pitchers have always been able to hit.
I remember El Cid's first hit where we overran the bag and got tagged out in Houston. That was fun. I do remember that vividly for some reason. But no, listen, the strategy of the National League game is always more exciting. There's no doubt about it. The problem is that the strategy's been taken away because the pitcher isn't going to go more than 5 anyway.
Yeah.
Really they kind of killed the game a little bit. And now it's like, well, now I can keep a couple of 40-year-old guys in the league a little bit longer and let them DH for a while.
Nelson Cruz.
Man, pretty much. Guys that cannot do anything else but do that. It's a good point, G, that the universal DH kind of came in because it's a real big deal. I mean, National League fans are not going to be happy for the most part.
Now, as a Met fan, you're sitting there going, hey, it may not be bad for us. You've got, we know Robbie Cano is supposed to be back from suspension. Not that you count on him, but if he can still hit a little bit. You've got the types like J.D. Davis and Dom Smith, who are DH types right now. Do you platoon those guys? Do you settle on a permanent DH, or do you make some trades and sort of rotate through the DH?
Well, now you the
got one like thing that I
like in Binghamton hitting 198. Remember him?
Yeah,
hitting 35 homers.
The one
also,
thing
he might have a job. I'm sorry, Jay. What were you saying?
That's right. The one thing I like is that there's one rule throughout the whole league, and that's one of the things that I've really disliked all these years. I don't like two different rules for two different leagues, and interleague games you're playing half of one way and half the other. And I like one set of rules. Everybody's playing under the same pretenses. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If the Mets are coming to an AL ballpark, they're going to have a DH the same way they were if they were home. They're going to have a DH. So
I get that. I mean, listen, every sport is evolving. Baseball. I mean, Listen, one of the things that we talked about, 2 weeks ago or last week, maybe, I don't even remember now, was that, the big thing is, do we want 14 teams in the playoffs or 12? As a guy that liked 8, really liked 6, but liked 8, settled on 10. 12 makes me cringe, and 14 makes me really get upset. I mean, it's really just coming down to how many playoff games can we get, how much money can we get, and the purity of the sport's already been a little bit diminished.
I didn't mind 10 when you had that one-game playoff.
Yep, I agree.
Because at least, hey, you've got 3 divisions. You still get some credit for winning division. You're the second best team. You need to have some sort of disadvantage. And if you've got your rotation set up where you're using your ace in that playing game, that puts you at the disadvantage going to the next round. And the team that finishes first in the league gets that what should be rightly a big advantage of not having to face your ace, possibly twice, only once.
Yeah, you get to face them once, and you hope that gives you that advantage. That should be enough, especially if you're the 1 seed. You should have a decisive advantage in game 1. And that should also make it a decisive advantage in game 2. Yep. Especially because that guy's not going to be able to go till at least game 3 at the very earliest if they rush him back. And you should have your pitching rotation set up. Now we all know that pitching rotations. Watch the Tampa Bay Rays. Get a guy to go out there for 4 innings, then they find some guy that's 6'8" that throws 103 miles an hour, and they keep rolling the same guy out every inning. Different last name, but it's the same freaking guy. And he just strikes out Yankees left and right. And you're like, wow, how does this happen so easily? Just kind of funny how that works out. Yeah, I mean, I just want baseball to start up on time. The players have not done anything in negotiation at all. The owners have moved somewhat. The players haven't even attempted anything. I just think that Bill made fun of me last week as the owner's guy, but I work for an owner too. I have to do what he says. I don't know why these guys think they should be so special. Enough. Just compromise. Get in the room and figure it out. This shouldn't be that complicated. G?
Do you think we're gonna start on time?
No, I think we'll probably be 10 days late. I think that we'll start by April 10th. I think somewhere right around there. I think that we'll start before Easter, but not, maybe that Monday right at the Palm Sunday type thing. So the 11th, I think that is actually. I think that's. I don't know why that's a date in my head. I hope to God we start on time. Because selfishly, I want to do our fantasy baseball draft in Atlantic City on Friday, March 18th, with everybody knowing what's going on while I'm betting on college basketball. I want it all. I don't want to. COVID has thrown this off 2 years in a row. Not happy. I want my life back. I asked for so little in life, so little. I don't need anything. I want to hang out with my best friends. I want to watch my favorite tournament in the world because I'm an NCAA junkie, as are you guys, which we've been celebrating together forever. Even before we started going to Vegas, we used to take days off to watch these games.
94, 95.
Absolutely. I mean, we've been a junkie for this for as long as you can remember. I want my cake and I want to eat it too.
Watching Manhattan College play the first round tournament at first edition.
Beating Michael Anches and the Oklahoma Sooners, and they should have beat Mario Bennett in Arizona State. Yep. Questionable foul call knocked us down a little bit, but we had him on the ropes. Kev's a Manhattan alma mater guy. Gino and I are not, but since none of our schools make it to any kind of tournament, we root for Manhattan, who hasn't been competitive probably in the last 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, we had that one game. We had that 12-5 game against Florida.
Yep.
That was everybody predicted Manhattan as that upset that year.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, it's been pretty dry.
It's been Iona as the much better school in the conference, unfortunately. And if the rumors are true about Vermont coming in, wow, it's another powerhouse coming in to compete with. It's going to be very interesting.
It'll be interesting if Patino is truly happy in Iona. They're going to be good until he retires.
Well, you can see Patino just saying, wow, Mark Few's doing it in Gonzaga. I could do it over here in Iona. College basketball, this is about as wide open a season as you'll see. The bubble is softer than I can remember this late into the season. Now, understand this. The college basketball bubble is going to change 10 times a week from now until championship week, just because there's going to be one team that from a major conference like Oregon State did last year that's going to have no shot and get all the way through. There's going to be other teams right now that look ranked. I mean, perfect example, Iowa State started off like gangbusters, 13-0. The net still looks good. The BPI still looks good. This is the last place team in the Big Ten. Big 12. I'm sorry. This is the last place team.
Yeah.
And they're getting smacked around on a regular basis. They lost at home the other day to Kansas State, who's a decent team, but nothing special. And this is a team that everybody has in their tournament, but you keep sliding like this, you're not making it. And they were 13-0, the last undefeated team in a major conference. I mean, all this stuff was coming out with those guys. Them and Colorado State were like the last two undefeateds, and Gonzaga, of course. And then all of a sudden, this team that looked like the world beater in January looks like they're dead in February.
NIT, baby.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens. You go back and forth and you get these conferences like the Big 12 and the Big 10 and the SEC where they just beat each other up every week. So you go on a road trip, you play 2 tough road games, you go 0-2, and everybody's like, oh, you're off now. No, they're not off. They just play 2 teams that beat them at home. I mean, that's all that's all it is to it. So We're going to get much more into college basketball as we get closer, because right now it's really tough. But any thoughts on it, G or Kevin? Anything you guys want to add about the college hoop season?
Like you said, with it being wide open, we've had how many different teams at number 1 in the rankings? They change every 2 weeks, it feels like.
Auburn first time, absolutely.
Yeah. Like I said, with
a lot of parity.
A lot of parity. The ACC that you always expect to see, 8, 9, 10 teams, they're going to be getting 5, 6.
To be honest, if you look at everything, they could get as few as 4. And it's just not North Carolina is not very good. Michigan, another major school that's always around, not very good. Oklahoma, another major team that's in there every year, not very good. I mean, there's a lot of big-time schools that Maryland, not going to get in. Oregon, bubble at best.
Yeah.
There's a lot of big-time schools that will not make the tournament this year.
Then you get a team like Rutgers making their move.
The funny thing about Rutgers is they have some of the best wins and some of the worst losses at the same time. You lose at home to Lafayette, who's not even a good team in the Patriot.
No.
They're a bottom feeder in the Patriot, not last, but they're like lower middle.
That's the bad spot for
UMass on a 3-pointer at the buzzer. They really are an enigma. And then they come in, they beat Michigan State, they beat Ohio State, and they go to Wisconsin and win. And you're like, and they're not, and right now they wouldn't make anybody's tournament. I would make mine, but I don't have a vote.
all these conferences, you all know all these teams better than a lot of people I know, probably in the top 1%. But do you think this is the year where we get a lot of mid-majors with 2 bids and not just 1?
I think you can see 3 and 4 bids out of a couple of leagues that you wouldn't expect. I think that
Okay.
the Mountain West,
West.
and I think that the West Coast Conference are each going to get at least 3